Can we tell if there's anyone listening yet? Does it give us that?
I can't at the moment, but
Okay.
Let's just pretend we've got hundreds of people watching us. How you doing, my friend?
I'm good, Jeff. It's Friday. How are you?
Yes, it certainly is Friday. It's been a long time coming this week, I'll be honest. It's been a long
week. It's dragged a bit for me this week. I know the days seem to blend into each other, but I felt like it was Friday, maybe on Tuesday, Wednesday, but it's been a long time coming, this one.
Yeah, it's the time is definitely going slow, but I mean, it helps that we've got my older two that are going to school, so they know what day it is.
Yeah.
And so I'll make a sly question in the morning. What have you got today? It's a Thursday. So, okay, cool. Good. Don't really want to know what you've got today. Do you want the lessons, or just want to know what day it is? Okay, yeah.
Are you trying to make the weekends different then, or not? As weekends just the same as the week? Obviously, the kids aren't at school, but
yeah. So the kids still have Saturday school, but no. It's and for Grayson, I mean, he's one every day is just the same to him.
Yeah.
So no, it's a bit different for me because I'm not coming to the shed to do some work.
Yeah.
But no, we'll do some different activities during the day. Some what do you call it? Air fix.
Okay.
Jigsaws, things like that. And we usually have a takeaway on the weekend.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Do
you do much on the weekend?
Well, yeah, we'll try and again, like I'll try and close the office doors for a couple of days, but generally we watch more TV at the weekends, and we'll probably make a point of doing more of a family cycle ride or something like that, where we do a trip out. Last week it was a family cycle ride out to get some eggs. That was the highlight. That was the goal, the purpose.
Okay.
Of our cycle ride.
Just go and find some chickens and steal some eggs.
yeah. So find some farm fresh eggs, because I don't know about you, but our supermarkets hardly ever have eggs. So
they're one of the more in demand products, aren't they?
Yeah. So that and flour, can't get any flour. But so we cycled out.
I learned that's to do with packaging.
Was it?
So it's not a lack of flour. It's a lack of consumer-sized packaging.
Oh, really?
So there's a certain amount of flour that they package up into whatever it is, 1 kilo packs or whatever.
Yeah.
In supermarkets, and the demand for that has increased. The flour is there. They just don't have, apparently, the consumer-sized package to get it. But that's what I heard.
Speaking of flour, I baked a cake today, Jeff. Yeah, so we did.
I made a cheesecake. That's not really baking.
No, I did proper chocolate cake bake today. So we did my kids, bless them. You say about routine and about knowing which day it is. My son last week said he was noticeably disappointed last Friday. He said, because it's normally fish and chips at school on Friday, and we didn't have fish and chips.
Yeah.
So he recognises days of the week by largely what they feed him by food. So today we marked Friday with we set up school dinners.
Nice.
So we had like a buffet style so Sabrina played dinner lady, and she would serve the kids on trays, and we had to use plastic trays and plates and cups, and and they were just
put their hand up if they need the toilet.
Yeah, well, they put their hand up to ask if they're allowed to have their pudding.
Please, sir, can I have some more?
No, they're not allowed seconds at school. Not allowed seconds. Creates serious. It creates too much problems. Kids go taking more than their fair share. So no seconds. No ketchup. Get this, Jeff. No ketchup at our kids' school.
That's isn't that a basic human right?
But yeah, the headmaster, because I think it was causing difficulties. It was a flow issue, Jeff. It was a flow issue of being able to get. Some children would forget. To put
bottleneck.
Yeah, kids would forget their ketchup, and then has to go back up to get it, and then you've got kids trying to push past other kids with trays, and it's just a nightmare, Jeff. Nightmare. So headmaster went cold turkey and said, right, no ketchup. And
that's quite a lazy way of solving that problem, isn't it?
you'd think there'd be a better way, wouldn't you?
But they haven't learned a lesson there, have they? What have they learned? Nothing.
No.
I mean, if you miss your ketchup and you can't go back, then at least you're going to think, I'm not going to forget my ketchup next time.
Yeah, true.
That's a valuable lesson. A bit of forethought, a bit of planning.
Yeah.
And it's a good life skill. But no, enough people forget their ketchup. No one has ketchup. What does that mean for the people who have been forward thinking and thought, I've remembered my kitchen?
Oh, yeah, I said, and no salt and vinegar, no ketchup. I mean, in that canteen this lunchtime, I was distraught without those basic needs of a fish supper.
Yeah. So we just had our first comment from Tony, Big Tony, who's backed up my view that there is plenty of flour available from wholesale suppliers to the hotel industry because they're stuck with a surplus. My sister is like a proper cake maker. These really fancy cakes that you see cost loads of money and just incredibly skillful and artistic. I was worried for her, thinking, you can't get flour. And she said, no, you can. You just have to buy lots of it. Fine if you're making big cakes.
Yeah.
But Tony, you may just for everybody else's benefit, there is about a 20-second delay between what we're saying and you hearing it, because we're on the moon. But yeah, if we take a while to get back to your comments, that's why.
While we're doing that, Jeff, we do drinks.
Oh yeah.
What are you having?
So you're on the mystery cider again.
Yeah, you do yours first. I'll take a mystery.
Well, I'm still on my my home brew. I have put the next batch into the barrel today. So that
is it called still working from home brew?
I haven't thought of the name yet. I'll be interested if anybody's got any good puns for the next name. For what it's worth, the new batch is lighter. It's more of a summer ale.
Right.
So a bit fruitier, a bit lighter, not quite so hoppy. But yeah, so that one's got a couple of weeks of secondary fermentation in the barrel. While I continue to work my way through this one, and this is still changing. This is even fruitier than it was the last time we spoke. And yeah, very nice. Very nice. It's clearing up quite nicely, isn't it? You can see. It's a lot stronger than it was the first time.
Yeah.
So yeah, the working from home brew is well, 2/3 gone now. Still changing. This is even fruitier than it was the last time. What are you going for today? What's in your?
Well, I'll give you the choice. There's only 7 left to choose, Jeff.
Okay.
You can have number 1, number 3, number 4, number 6, or number 7, or number 10 or 11.
I fancy 4 today.
You're going for number 4. Feels like a game show. Ooh, you've gone for Glastonbury Cider.
Okay.
This is Hex.
Ooh.
Port wine of Glastonbury Cider.
Well, that looks like it needs some further investigation.
This is a 6.5% volume, medium sweet. Oh, it's just got the single label. Not a lot to be said about it, but it's from Street in Somerset. Do you know Street?
Yes.
Clark's Village?
No.
Oh, that's where Clark's Village is. Believe it or not, I've lost my bottle opener.
Use your teeth.
I can't do that. Oh no, I found it.
Port wine.
What's
right with that?
Yeah, port wine. Don't like. Yeah, bit sketchy about port. Oh, it smells rough as guts.
Rough as guts. Do you want to send that in to them, see if they want to use it in their marketing?
Yeah, they're not going to be very impressed with my my appraisal of the aroma. I'll tell you that much.
I don't know. Have you seen the new? This may not work outside of the UK, but the new Carlsberg adverts.
No.
So, Carlsberg had a very successful campaign over a few years, and it was probably the best.
Right.
probably the best lager in the world. And they did all sorts of things where it was probably, if Carlsberg did stag do's, they'd probably be the best stag do's in the world, kind of thing.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
So much so that they managed to get around legal constraints. So for the Olympics and the World Cup, where you're not allowed to advertise alcohol and cigarettes and all that nasty stuff, they just had hoardings around the football pitch which just said probably. And because everybody knew that it meant Carlsberg, they got away with it. But generally speaking, pretty terrible lager. But their new advert, their advertising campaign is basically saying our lager used to be terrible. So we've redesigned it. We've completely redone it based on customer feedback. We've completely redone it from root to branch. Everything is different. It's going to be really good this time. So kind of admitting that it was bad. So much. One of the adverts I saw the other day, it was a lake, and there were some bubbles coming up from the middle of it, and they were saying, "So have we dealt with the person that was responsible for the previous recipe?" Probably.
Really? Oh, okay. They're kind of making a mockery of it, really.
Well, yeah, they're just having a little bit of a laugh at themselves, I think.
But I'm not joking. This doesn't smell very good at all.
Tony suggested last of the summer beer. I like that, apart from that it will be the first of the summer beer. Keep going. So it smells rough as guts, and from your face there, I'm suggesting it doesn't taste much better.
This is my least favourite so far of this box. Jeff, you chose poorly.
Well, do you want to try something else? You want to write that one off?
Not right now. No.
You're gonna work your way through it.
It just doesn't. It tastes like quite like flowers. Rather than apples, it tastes like flowers, and that doesn't. No, it doesn't sit well with me.
Write it off, mate. Write it off.
I'm not going to bin it. Don't get me wrong. I pay good money for that. I'll drink it. I'll just sit here and be very British and moan about it for the next.
No,
20 minutes.
Come on. Just you're doing this for pleasure. You're not doing it out of obligation. If you're not enjoying it, don't have it. Find something that you do enjoy. Life's too short. Come on,
maybe it'll grow on me.
I'll pick number one.
No, you don't know another one. Yeah.
Okay. What have you been up to this week?
How'd that go? What?
What have you been up to this week?
What have I been up to this week? I've quite I feel like it's been a long week, but I feel like I've achieved. Several post-its have moved from my monitor, which is generally. I can't remember.
Success.
Huh?
You've had some success, some feeling of completion.
Yeah, I feel like I've ticked a few things off. It's a lot of kind of admin. I did a course this week. So that was took up Monday, Tuesday. So that was exhausting.
Yeah.
Because
for them presumably.
for all of us, I think. But it's kind of one of those things, and I got a nice email afterwards after it was finished from a lady who was on the course, and she said it is very hard to read a room, obviously virtually, because you can't always assess people's engagement stroke. It's maybe harder to pick up the nod or the shift in body language or whatever that might be, but it was nice to get. I got some nice comments via email afterwards from her and a couple of others that said that they've been on a few kind of online teachings and they really got a lot out of it. So that was good.
Good.
And ran a retrospective in the end that went quite well. So people weren't as tired as perhaps I thought they were, and people were more engaged than I perhaps assessed from the Zoom call itself. So generally, yeah, quite good. Maybe you feel quite good after that. And again, that's quite it was quite a long couple of days mentally. So, but I kind of cracked on Wednesday, Thursday, and again got a lot of I feel like I was doing a lot of website admin on my side of things, trying to just freshen things up and maybe offer a couple of other things and keep things interesting. So trying to diversify slightly with what I can offer through the website. So a couple of things.
Okay.
Through that. So yeah, generally feel like I've got a lot done and did some baking today as well. I mentioned that. Yeah. So just
what kind of cake?
chocolate cake.
Obviously.
Yeah, so
No
got
fruit.
that done. Well, it was no with fruit.
Well, one thing I know about you is you love a fruit-based dessert.
I do. I like a fruit cake, but I wouldn't mix fruit with chocolate, Jeff. Let's keep those two
Not
things.
strawberries dipped in chocolate?
No, I don't like that. Not a massive fan of strawberries, you see.
Whoa.
No, I am not. I'm not a massive fan of strawberries.
Are you English?
I like raspberries. Does that count?
No, it's a different fruit.
See, I'd like, if I was having a choice, I'd have raspberries and ice cream rather than strawberries and ice cream.
I just genuinely never thought I'd come across anybody, let alone an English person, who said, not really a fan of strawberries.
Well, I've never met anyone else that doesn't like mushrooms, Jeff, apart from you. So we're even.
I don't know. I think mushrooms are more divisive than strawberries. Ashton says you should just get on and drink it.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, so yeah, work wise, we're moving on a bit. What about not work? So apart from baking, have you been doing anything else?
Got back into again. I feel like I've done more because I got back into a bit of my routine around running this week. Did a couple of runs, did a 5K run. Watching more TV.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a good opportunity.
Yeah. So generally,
you got Netflix now.
So yeah, we started with Netflix just before lockdown. I've cancelled Sky. Big move for the Goddard family. Sky is now gone. And we've moved more towards, we've gone for Netflix plus Disney Plus.
Yeah.
So never knew really, I found it really hard to know where to start with Netflix, but I started with a couple of things. Afterlife 2. Well, I watched Afterlife, the first series of Afterlife.
Yeah.
But we won't go into that because that's a bit dark.
Yeah.
What else? I've been watching The Last Dance on Netflix as well, which I'm big into my basketball, and that's been a real
Chicago Bulls, right?
Yeah. So a lot of agile kind of leadership stuff within that, around taking the I out of team. And Jordan, in that last episode, Jackson said to Jordan, said, "There's no I in team," and Jordan goes, "Yeah, but there's an I in win." So they had an interesting clash. So yeah. So but no, that's good. And I've been I finally got through, and I had to watch this on my own. I got hooked into the Tiger King.
Ah, yes.
So I finished that last week as well, and that was eye-opening, wasn't it? Have you seen it?
I have. Yes. Bloody Carol Baskin.
But
what an absolute car crash that was.
But it's so bad, it's so good, isn't it? In many respects, it
just came together, didn't it? It was one of those almost perfect storms. A documentary about a reality show or something. And it was hilarious. And part of you thinks that can't be true, but part of you knows it absolutely can. What did you take out of it? Maybe we should give a spoiler alert. I don't know I think everybody in the world's seen it, haven't they?
Well, yeah. I mean, I kind of knew the ending before I watched it. So as with the internet, I was keen to know what all these people were talking about, so I googled it. But obviously the guy's charismatic, right? So there's an element of the people that work for him initially certainly kind of idolized him in a way, and his and the charisma and his style, his leadership style that he brought to his workforce. They kind of just did everything that he said. But it's amazing how quickly that fractures when new people came in and kind of sidelined him.
Well, he hired, I think the program called the Misfits, didn't they? But it was people who'd either been to prison before or been just he wouldn't necessarily have gone out and headhunted them. Although he did pick up a job from the petrol station, didn't he?
Yeah, he kind of went after people that I suppose he thought were easy targets or cheap labour or whatever, was desperate. You kind of
who would welcome the opportunity and not necessarily question the morals or the ethics.
Mm.
And that they obviously did. It served him well, and to a degree, they couldn't believe their luck in a way, could they? And the people that were working there, and the fantastic animals to be close to.
Mm.
And I think a lot of them thought they had a dream job, didn't they?
Mm.
But that charismatic personality. Do you know what? Charisma is something that a lot of people I hear pull into a definition of a product owner.
Go on, yeah.
Do you hear that?
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah,
someone who can sell an idea, who can communicate well, who can bring a sense of passion, bring a sense of energy, bring a sense of enthusiasm, bring people along on the ride, get people engaged. And I think he could do all of that, right? He certainly had something about him. As the French say, a je ne sais quoi, with a mullet.
Yeah.
But I think that can only get you so far if you haven't got the substance and the integrity to back it up.
But you've got to be very aware of how much for TV they dramatise these things, don't they? So they obviously he had a run. Huh?
Well, it went through a couple of filters, didn't it? So you had the guy that was making the TV show.
Yeah.
And then they were making a TV show about that.
Mm.
And then after it all fell apart, there was the documentary about it falling apart.
Yes.
So you kind of got 3 layers of differentiation or fragmentation.
Mm. But obviously an element of delusion from his part that he thought, I can be a politician, I can run for president, I can run for senator, that there was a self-inflation of his own charisma.
Well, that's the downside of being surrounded by sycophants, isn't it?
Yes. And there was certainly an element of that everyone around him kind of idolized him.
Yeah.
And how quickly he changed his behavior when someone of higher status came in.
True. Or perceived higher status.
But he turned out, well, again, we don't really know if he turned out to be a fraud, but certainly how much he changed when someone of more money or more bigger ego, whoever it was, came in and started moving into his patch.
Well, I think the bigger change was, and I think this was played out, and it was actually mentioned by some of the staff there, how he changed when the cameras were on him.
Mm.
So he played to the cameras. He wanted that celebrity aspect.
Mm.
And I'm not suggesting that's the case in the organizations that I've worked in, but the sense when people act differently when they know they're being watched a lot of the time. And I think there's a good quote. It's probably, I'm going to butcher it, but this idea of character is doing the right thing when nobody's watching.
Yeah. And
I think if you act the same way when people are watching you and when you don't, then you know you've got integrity and you're grounded as a person. I don't think he was that, because he played to the cameras, right?
Well, he did, and his personality changed when almost the documentary required it to change. So it's very hard to see, isn't it? Even in organizations, it's very hard to see people's natural behaviors when behind closed doors, whatever that is. So even people very senior in the company.
But if you watch long enough, real bubbles to the surface.
Yes, especially in stressful situations.
Yes, and he got stressed, and he let business get personal.
Mm.
Right? I mean, if we're talking our product owners charismatic, I think, well, yes, to a degree, but the best product owners don't let business get personal. They can empathize and they can connect, and they can build relationships, genuine relationships, but they don't let business become personal. They can separate out. They know when something has crossed the line into, I'm just chasing something because I want something here. There's no actual value here. And he was really taken by that vendetta.
But a lot, I think, so his ego. So you think about, because he when he was getting sued, or when the Baskins were kind of going after him, he kind of dug his heels in, and he actually went on the counterattack, didn't he? And kind of started to copy, and actually more lawsuits arose because of his actions. He started copying their logos and their trying to steal their social media space. So in effect, that's quite entrepreneurial. Is trying to, I know it's illegal, which I understand, but trying to.
They say there's a fine line between genius and crazy.
Yeah, so trying to maximize his own his success and the growth of his own business, and that got him a lot of support from his own followers, from his own staff, right? So they saw him as this kind of really courageous and stuck by their guns and kind of would back them up. That's a strong leader, right? So someone who would defend us and defend our honor here.
Well, having someone to defend your company, your society, your group, your team from is an incredibly motivating factor. And it's why leaders, political leaders, national leaders throughout history have always tried to focus on people, the outsiders, because it provides something to group and focus against.
Yeah.
And rightly or wrongly, whether he believed Carol Baskin to be evil or not, painting her as such gave him a tool to coalesce and to bring his people together.
Yeah.
I mean, she's a funny bugger as well, isn't she? Let's be honest.
It's all quite strange, isn't it? It's all quite strange. Yeah, and she had her faults as well, and there's a lot of unanswered questions. I don't really know
cats and kittens.
Yeah, but the whole kind of underhand, and it kind of all turned on him at the end. That his staff kind of turned on him. Everyone kind of turned on him when he changed his tune, when he became a different character and tried to run away from it all. Really.
Yeah. Have you seen so on the Netflix thing? The other one that was sort of a big thing was "Don't Fuck with Cats."
No, I haven't seen that. No.
That's something worth watching. Brief synopsis without any spoilers. I don't know whether I can without any kind of spoilers. Basically, the trailer says, all sorts of people on the internet. The internet is wonderful, but it's weird. But there's one sort of unwritten rule of the internet, which is don't fuck with cats. and this whole thing started with this person posting a video of him killing some kittens.
Right.
And
then the whole internet kind of.
And then the whole thing expanded.
Yeah.
This group sort of, well, you can't do that. We're gonna track you down, like this sort of vigilante mob Facebook group and so on. And then it just escalated and escalated and escalated. And it's fascinating. Again, real life. It really happened, and sort of fascinating insight into the psyche. Just because I don't think you can see the comments.
I can. I'm looking at them now. Ashton's comment, about it was quite philosophical and intellectual until you labelled Carol Baskin. Yeah.
Funny bugger. Did I say what did I say?
Yeah, that's what you said. Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway.
But yeah, well, I mean, I am. I've got time. You know what else I'm doing now? I'm doing a lot of crosswords, Jeff.
Are you?
Yeah.
Cryptic or straight?
Cryptic.
Okay.
I'm learning, and I'm getting better at them.
Well,
so this is one of those unplanned kind of things about lockdown. Is more time, perhaps trying to exercise my brain in different ways. But I'm learning new words and synonyms.
Easy for you to say. What's your word of the day?
Surreptitious. I know it's a word. I know it's a word you'd use. Yeah. But how many letters in surreptitious? 13. Didn't know that, did you?
I didn't. But wheelbarrow's got more letters than you think.
No, how many has it got?
It's got quite a few, more than you think. My word of the day: ramshackle.
Ramshackle's a lovely word.
I think it's a funny word. I went for my hours exercise yesterday that our government allows us to have.
Yeah.
And I went for a walk, and I'm in the Cotswolds, so there are some farms around, a little bit like your area.
Yeah.
And just went down this little lane where there was some lambs in a field at the end, and a little baby was absolutely fascinated by them.
Mm-hmm.
There was also a number of buildings that were close to falling down.
Right.
And with the fact that you had sheep and a building that was falling down, the word ramshackle came into my mind. And I said, that's a funny word, isn't it? I mean, what on earth caused that word to be? I don't know where I'm going with this. But a ram is a male sheep. Shackle is a bind, or something that binds you.
Yeah.
So where does ramshackle turn into a building that's falling down or in disrepair?
Yeah.
But it's a lovely sounding word.
Yeah, it's got a nice kind of. It's quite a prickly word, isn't it? Quite spiky. Ramshackle. It's got a lot of consonants in it.
What are your nice agile words?
I like words like cadence. I like that word. Cadence. Quite musical, isn't it? I like musical words.
It's kind of onomatopoeic.
Yes. And, onomatopoeia is isn't that when a word sounds like it is? Is that onomatopoeia?
Pop.
Like shattered. Shattered. Yeah, I know that. See, I know my onions.
Bang.
Yeah. What are the words? What are my crosswords this week? But yeah, I'm learning new words. So old salt. If I said to you old salt, what would that mean?
Like a salt of the earth guy, a good person.
Yeah, so kind of like someone who's a good storyteller. He's an old salt.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's little idioms that you kind of pick up on. But it's one of those things that, and it's become now a bit of a challenge between me, my sister, and my dad to get the crossword on Wednesdays. Wednesday is crossword day.
Times?
No, Daily Mail. Sorry, it's my dad's choice. Ooh. Sorry, listeners.
Ooh.
I know, but we all have to buy the same crossword. Trust me. The rest of the paper is for fish and chips. That's all it is. It gets thrown away straight away. But we do the crossword on Wednesday. We check it on Sundays, and we kind
Who's winning at the moment?
My sister's pretty good.
I was going to say your sister's pretty sharp.
You immediately discounted me and my ability and said,
"I've worked with you a long time."
But yeah, it's quite good, and some of the words I can't even explain as to why they're the answers. But it's exercising my brain, and that's in different ways. I need to do that because not seeing people.
Well, yeah, you don't get to work with me, which is kind of stretching for you, isn't it? I suppose.
No, yeah, so don't get that at the moment. Anything you're doing differently, or new things you've done, different skills you've picked up, or since all this happened, things you didn't know you enjoyed?
Well, I've been making videos. I mean, I know I have made some videos in the past, but that's been my sort of primary job recently for a client. Been making videos for some sort of internal education things, so people can't get together, obviously. Looking for some more remote options. So recording things, creating some animations, and people can watch them in their own time, at their own pace. not really what I thought I'd be doing at this stage of my life, if I'm brutally honest. Oh, that's a bad thing. It's just a complete surprise. Yeah. No, this week has been, I think it's been really, just felt really long. The weather changed, didn't it? The weather's a big thing for me.
Well, we had a day, was it Wednesday or Tuesday, when it was I think our mood, so there's an Agile thing here we can step into briefly. But you are right, the mood in our house noticeably changed when it rained. And I mean, we all got miserable when it rained. The kids did, and when the kids do, we do. But my general mood, generally a bit more down in the dumps when it rains.
But I don't mind the rain when I'm at the seaside.
What? Why?
Well, I quite like a rough sea.
Because it's the sound or the look of it?
Both. So there's a program that I watch now and again. It's called Wicked Tuna.
Right.
If you're in America, Wicked Tuna.
Tuna.
And it's on the one hand it's just ridiculous, but on the other hand it's fantastic. So I just stumbled across it when I was in America once, and they caught this fish. You like your fishing, but they're out in the middle of nowhere, 100 miles from the coast on a little boat, and they've caught a fish, and it's like 100 inches long, weighs 600 pounds.
Yeah.
And they're bringing it in on this rod, and in the rain and the wind and the sea's going like this. And I quite like. I'm lucky I don't get seasick, or haven't got seasick. I quite like being. I like the rocking motion. So like me and my wife will be watching this program one evening, and it's lightning out there, and it's waves, and it's going from side to side. And my instant reaction is, I'd like to be on that boat. My wife's reaction is, I want to be nowhere near that boat.
So really, so your instinct is, I'd like to be on that boat.
I love being in a storm. I love thunder and lightning and rain and waves and things. I love that.
Why is that? What is it about it?
I don't know. Was it with you? We got stuck in a crazy golf course.
Yeah.
We got stuck.
Yeah, that was. Where was that? Yeah, that was in America. That was in. Was Nige there? Was it just me and you?
Yeah, it's just me and you, I think.
But it started to hammer it down with rain.
Like really come down, and we got stuck inside some hole in some like cave type thing, didn't we?
In one of the holes on the golf course, and we couldn't move because it. I think where it is.
They closed the golf course and told us not to come out because there was lightning all over the place.
Yeah.
And we were stuck out there.
It's one of those weird things. Yeah, one of those weird things that you just made me think then about whether people like to be able to see I'm going down the disaster movie now, so stop me if it gets a bit dark, right?
Okay.
But why do people enjoy watching disaster movies? And one of the most popular movies back to Netflix is now Contagion, isn't it? You noticed this?
Yeah.
Probably a film you haven't seen, Jeff. I realise that.
I've seen something with a monkey.
I can't remember if there's a monkey in it, but I know Matt Damon's in it, and I'm not saying anything about Matt Damon.
There's some kind of crazy like pandemic film with a monkey in it.
Well, Contagion is obviously a pandemic film, and but it's an interesting. Why would people want to watch that now? Do you think?
I think a lot of the reason people like to watch bad stuff is because it's a reminder that it's not happening to them.
Yeah, but right now, this is happening to them.
Well, no, it's not yet.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure people who... So, I mean, you mentioned Afterlife.
Yeah.
Afterlife, we watched the first series and absolutely loved it. Second series, not so much. Not that it was badly written or anything. It was quite hard. But that we've got some really direct relationship to that story.
Well, exactly. Of course you have. Yeah.
House.
Yeah.
And so it tweaks your nerves a little bit. But when you're distant from it and it's happening somewhere else, you can kind of think, all right, that's not happening to me. And that's something that I remember from sort of psychology 101, is that people are happiest when they're in a group of people where they're slightly above average.
Yeah.
So you don't want to be at the top because you feel guilty, you feel bad, you sort of feel a bit arrogant, and you don't want to be down the bottom because you're always thinking everyone's better than me. But if you're slightly above the average, think, okay, well, I'm a little bit better than everyone else. That's quite a nice place to be. And so something, the bad stuff's always happening to somebody else.
Yeah.
That's my theory. Maybe some people are watching it for hoping to learn something, hoping that the screenwriters are
Well, that was my my thought around this when Sabrina told me about that it was trending on Netflix, or on top 5 films on Netflix, was around certainty as to whether, and apparently I haven't watched it, but I watched it when it first came out, but I haven't watched it for a long time. But they used some of the phrases like social distancing and things like that in the film.
Okay.
And I just wonder if it's something that, because the viewer wants to know, well, how are we going to turn out, or how is our situation going to be similar to this, or what happens next? And it's that whole thing around people being less than comfortable with not knowing what's happening next, because even though the government are still trying to give us, they're teasing out the idea of maybe we'll get some information next week and maybe you'll learn a bit more next week. Most of the people that I talk to, family, friends, are still constantly asking questions of each other. What happens next?
Yeah.
So not knowing that people is killing. It's killing.
That's fair.
Not killing, literally. Wrong word. Wrong turn of phrase.
Well, no, but that not knowing was quite a famous study by David Rock, wasn't it? That people would prefer. So Nigel loves the old sword of Damocles metaphor. That people would prefer to have pain now than the possibility of pain later. That uncertainty is more painful than the pain. Outbreak was the film.
Okay.
With the monkey.
With the monkey.
But there you go. Yeah. Another film that I watched was World War Z, or as we say,
watched it recently.
World War Z.
Yeah.
No, I watched it on a plane a long time ago. I quite like it.
Did they cut the seat? Spoiler alert! Did they cut the seat in it when the plane crashes?
No.
Oh.
No, but so my wife really hates flying, and one of the first times I managed to get her on a plane, the in-flight movie was Titanic, which I thought was a very bad choice. Even though it's a different mode of transport, I didn't think it was the most.
No, it's not the most appropriate. You want, interesting. Yeah, as to what types of films people choose to watch on planes or whatever.
That was at a time when you didn't have a choice. That was the in-flight movie.
Yeah. That
everybody watched or didn't watch.
Yeah.
But if you can remember those time, kids.
Yeah.
No, that it's so we do a little a non-monetary plug for our game of werewolves next week.
Yes.
What made you think of werewolves? Where did that come from?
What do you mean? What?
Well, where did the idea of let's play werewolves come from?
I think I was invited to play from someone in the.
Oh, you were in one of your improv groups, weren't you?
Yeah, it was the Applied Improvisation Network. They were running. I'll give a plug. It was a guy called Raymond van Driel. He's based in the Netherlands. He's Dutch, yeah. And he started. I think he was doing it because he was learning how he could run these online for some of his clients. And if you've never played werewolves, it's based on a game called Mafia, which again you can Google that and you'll learn. It's basically a hidden identity game, but you can play a version of it online. And I did this with a group from the improvisation world of a couple of weeks ago, and yeah, and he's teaching it largely around influencing and persuading people. So those kinds of skills about almost manipulation, I suppose, in some of the respects. But there is a segue into that, but it is quite fun. And if you've never played it before, me and Jeff are going to attempt to run a game next Friday. the 8th of May. You can get tickets, and Jeff will put he has already put a link on the this video on YouTube, so you can do free tickets and just sign up. Please only take a ticket if you are going to turn up. Because
Steve Holly is coming. He messaged me today. He booked a ticket and said Revenge. So apparently, I can't remember this. This doesn't sound like me at all. But, apparently, at a I think it was Play for Agile a few years ago. We were at a conference and we played a game of werewolves. And only the other day, he said, was it Friday? He said Wednesday. Funnily enough, he was talking about werewolves and how I was bleeping ruthless.
Really, I can imagine that, Jeff.
And so he said he's up for revenge. So he's got a ticket. He's coming.
Lovely. So yeah, we have to be careful on numbers.
In Germany, people in Wales are already signed up.
Yeah, a kind of an international game of werewolves, which we will host next Friday. Is that in addition to the social distancing, or is that instead of?
I can't remember now.
I think it's instead of, isn't it?
I think it might be instead of. Yes.
But we had a very busy social distancing today, didn't we? Had 10 people turn up. It was good. We did a little pub quiz.
He did a good quiz.
Yeah.
Brought out some photos that probably should have stayed buried, to be honest, if we're truthful.
Well, that's the benefit, is if the people weren't there, they didn't see them, Jeff. They've kind of been archived now away, never to be seen again.
They were the lucky ones.
Yeah. Nigel got away quite lightly.
Not need to see you topless and in lycra.
No, exactly.
But what happens in the pub stays in the pub.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So where are you on the sort of roller corona, as they call it, there, sort of ups and downs, the roller coaster of what's going on?
I kind of got used to everything now, I think.
Yeah, you're pretty much adapted.
Yeah, I'm probably now more nervous about how it's going to be different, if that's a thing, if getting to a point where, if they were to open the pub tomorrow, let's say, I don't think I'd go. I'd be, there's probably two types of people. There's one of people that are just desperate to get back and will be like banging on the door, but I won't be one of those people. I'd be like, ooh, a bit cagey now, but should we wait a bit? Should we just let some of the frenzy die down? Because I'm a bit more nervous about, because I've got used to this, about, well, how the danger of going back to how it used to be. And I know it's going to be a very gradual change, but can't really imagine going back to any kind of cinema, pub, restaurant at the moment. I'd rather just go to a friend's house and have a few drinks, I think.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing for us, is kids are missing their grandparents.
Yeah, that would probably be one of the first things to change, wouldn't it? Yeah. Immediate family.
Yeah, even Grayson, bless him, he's just coming down in the morning, going to the playroom, and he's got a playroom. He's a lucky kid, but he's fed up of it. He's one. He doesn't know any different. And he took him into the playroom this morning, 6 o'clock, and he was just burst into tears. Like, this is the same. This is almost something different.
Yeah.
You can't begrudge him that.
No.
Yeah,
it is hard. It's hard, and
it's a funny thing. We love routine. We love rhythm. We love cadence, to use your onomatopoeic word from earlier. But we hate monotony, and it's a fine line, isn't it, between routine and monotony?
Yeah.
A bit like a daily scrum.
You could say a bit like the Scrum framework itself. If you're sprinting for 10 years, if you're doing the same type of work every 2 weeks, it probably does get monotonous.
Yeah, you need to change it up, don't
you?
Yeah, for me, I'd just love to go down to the seaside, just for a change of scenery.
You can. So we took the advice that if we're a short drive, I think the guidance has changed, didn't it, recently, that you can have a short drive as long as your walk is considerably longer than your drive.
Yeah, I don't think
so. We took that
2.5 hour drive to the coast.
Yeah, I'm not suggesting that you can do that, and in no way am I endorsing that behaviour, Jeff. But we took a 10-minute, no, probably not even that, 5-minute drive to a different walk, to see a different part of the of our local scenery. So even that made a huge difference.
Well, we've been doing some. On the face of it, it seems altruistic, right? So we've been doing some picking up some groceries and whatever necessities for people who are old and vulnerable and can't go to the supermarket or whatever. And that's, on the face of it, we're doing a really nice thing, but it's selfish. We just want to do something and have a sense of purpose and go somewhere different. Obviously it's nice to help other people out, but there's no getting away from the fact that there's something in it for us as well. There's no selfless good deed.
I went to this. That's one thing I did this week. This is, I mean, if you played this, if we played this episode back to ourselves 12 months ago, if we were able to do that, or 12 months in the future, we think this is just boring. This is terrible content. But I really enjoyed my trip to the supermarket on Wednesday. And check me out for saying that now, but because it was a change. So me and the wife alternate supermarket trips. We go once a week now, big shop once a week, and she will go 1 week and I'll go the next. So it was 2 weeks since my last trip to the supermarket, and I kind of relaxed into it a little bit. I kind of enjoyed the experience now, and perhaps took a bit longer to because there's hardly anyone in the shop. They don't let many people in, but
that's something I wrote about a while ago, actually, in relation to Agile, is slowing down.
Yeah.
I mean, we've said many times, slow down to speed up.
Yeah.
But equally, slow down to just experience stuff.
Yeah.
And I tweeted last week, I had my first Chinese takeaway for 6 weeks. And I think our local Chinese takeaway has a health rating of 1 star. It's nothing.
It's not gourmet.
It's not gourmet, but it tasted like it because we hadn't had a Chinese takeaway with all those flavors for 6 weeks.
And do you think you ate it fast or slow?
No, we didn't. We kind of took our time. I think, we sort of paced ourselves, which was good. Normally we'd leave stuff, but we didn't leave anything this time.
Yeah, you probably savor it more, and I'm probably more grateful for it.
Yeah, and that's a good thing, right?
Yeah, think about the things that when things do change,
I think
you don't realize how much what you've got until you don't have it. So how much you'll be grateful for when you get it back, or when, just like, could be something frivolous like sharing a coffee with a friend, or something like that you took for granted when you had it, but now
that's it. I'm as guilty as the next person of in the past saying, enjoy these little things and make the most of the good things and so on. But you don't, do you? Because you're off at 100 miles an hour onto the next thing. But now you are, because that's all there is. It's only the little things at the moment, and I think that's a good thing. Anyway, enough philosophy.
Yeah.
What else? What's next on you? So have you finished The Last Dance?
No, they're only releasing 2 episodes at a time.
Oh, are they? So what are some of the Agile takeaways from that, apart from there's an I in win?
So what I will suggest is that episode 4, which is the one that's just, I know that you haven't got into it yet, you haven't watched it, you've been waiting for me to give you the lowdown, but if anyone is going to just look at an Agile kind of perspective on things, episode 4 is largely about Phil Jackson's tactics. So to summarize, a bit like we talked about Moneyball, didn't we, a few weeks back? Phil Jackson, as a coach, changed how the Bulls played in about 1986, and he had the ear of another analyst on the sidelines that the previous coach had kind of pushed to one side, and Jackson was more interested in these tactics. But what they did was they changed the how most NBA teams played. So if you had a great player like Michael Jordan, the go-to offense was get Jordan the ball. If you want to win the game, get Jordan the ball. If you're in a difficult clutch situation and you need points, give Jordan the ball. So Jackson's philosophy was, well, actually, no NBA team who had generally the highest scoring player that season ended up winning the championship. So there isn't a correlation between great scorers and great teams. So Jackson's philosophy was different tactics, move the ball around more, allow more players to take more shots. We'll get more points. We'll win more games. We'll win more championships. So that was the big Agile kind of learning for me, and how he fought against Jordan initially, because obviously Jordan, as a great player, was scoring a lot of points every game. He wanted the ball more, and he was of the opinion that if you want to win the game, get me the damn ball, and I'll win you this game. So Jordan's style had to change, and he kind of had to take a back seat for trying to shoot less and let the team take more shots. And that was a big thing for him, a player as good as him, to take less shots.
What made him do it?
I think it was largely Phil Jackson. Not telling him, but perhaps just a respect he had for Jackson. And I think it was probably his desire to win championships more than win
matches,
MVP awards. So he wanted that accolade of being a great leader, captain, or whatever you want to call it, but of leading his side to a championship, which he'd never done. It was kind of that missing part of his CV. He'd never won a championship.
Yeah.
So I think he was kind of willing to try anything to do that.
How many did he win in the end?
Jordan? I don't know. I know Jackson won 7. I should know because I've got his book, but Jackson won more than Jordan, I believe. But yeah, certainly more than one. They won 5, and so the Last Dance documentary on Netflix starts in the '98 season. So that was kind of their last season together. But yeah, it's interesting. And the other stuff that Jackson used to do around, we've talked about this before, but Jackson wouldn't get too involved in timeouts. He'd let teams sort timeouts out for themselves and kind of organize themselves on court. He brought a lot of Native American kind of Buddhism kind of, what do you want to call it, kind of mantra to training and to Zen-like thinking of slowing people down and meditating and things like that you would, at the NBA at the time, was just almost laughed at. So, but there was, and Jordan says in the documentary,
wasn't he called the counterculture coach?
Yeah. And Jordan said when he left the Bulls, or in his last year, he said, I'm not going to play for anyone apart from Phil Jackson. That was how good he was. So, but interesting, yeah, and it reminds me of that kind of respect that a great leader has, is that we talked about charisma, we talked about followship, people that are willing to go with you. And Jackson certainly had that in spades.
Yeah.
Sorry, I rambled on a bit there.
Maybe the world needs a Phil Jackson to get them out of this. But anyway, that's probably a good time to say goodnight.
Yes, mate, we've done an hour, have we? An hour, so 58 minutes.
Have we?
Yeah, it's good.
That's a big session.
Well, I hope you enjoy your Friday, and hope you enjoy your weekend.
And you, my friend.
I hope all our listeners stay safe. And if you, just to remind listeners again, if you look us up on Twitter, look me and Jeff up on LinkedIn, we generally try and put links out to whenever we're meeting. Social distance in is our regular kind of pub on a Friday evening, drinks after work. Look us up for that one, but look out for our Werewolves tickets on Jeff's website next week as well.
Well said, my friend, well said. Cheers.
Cheers, chap. I've still got half a pint of this one, so I'm making a lot of hard work of it, but
obviously.
Have a good weekend, mate.
Cheers, mate.
See you later.